Kojima-san. I know you're working on a new game, and hey, it looks like you've got your gang back together, and you're making them do some weird stuff. Hey, I get it. You were working for this really mean company, and now Sony's giving you a blank check to do whatever, which is good and all, and I'm really excited for your next project. It's just that I've noticed that you've changed, and not in a good way. And so here's some things that I'd like you to consider. You probably already well into development from what I've heard. The story is already done, but yeah. So maybe things wouldn't change that much anyways, but here's some criticisms that I've had. Probably the biggest and most notable change between old Kojima and new Kojima is his use of long one takes, which are pretty cool if used sparingly and properly. In very early cinema, all that was used was long takes. It was thought that at the time that if you were to move the camera or even cut, that people really wouldn't understand what was going on. Then the works of George Méliès came onto the scene and proved elsewise. Point is, film and television started cutting fluff in their presentation. The thing is that nowadays, in more modern cinema, when a long take occurs, it really stands out. These types of shots, when put at the beginning, set up a setting very well, setting being time, place, and mood. Or you could throw it in and make a scene feel a lot more tense, like my favorite scene from Pulp Fiction, or any of these other action scenes from movies. It's actually a very versatile tool for storytelling when used properly. When used improperly, you can tire the audience with unnecessary information. Like in this scene from The Revenant, the camera moves past these really boring rocks, and well, the scene would be better cut, as Thomas Flight points out. My point is that you don't have to make every cutscene in your game a long take, and the cutscenes that you've already made for Death Stranding are done pretty well. They set up a good setting, but even though that there's some skills in the ones that you've done for MGS5, the subject isn't focused most of the time. But you've got also your standard 2-shots, inserts, and whatnot, but only done without cutting, and that's pretty cool. You know, some of the great directors do that same thing. The thing is that it just doesn't feel right. You do this by moving the camera around like crazy, using a lot of zooms and lens flares, and it kind of really hurts, to be honest. See, the way you move the camera around makes it feel like there's a person operating the camera, and it really calls attention to itself. A lot of the time you have to do these really crazy pans instead of cuts because, oh no, cutting is bad. Apparently the thing is that cutting is the most efficient and actually takes more skill, in my opinion. If not, listen to me, listen to Alfred Hitchcock, who made a movie that looked like it was done in one take. Okay, you want to be different, alright, I get you, but you gotta understand you're stressing out the audience's eyes when you do film a whole scene in one take. Let's try this experiment. So right now, look at a light source in your room. Now look at the door. Notice what you did in between. You blinked, most likely. You have to consciously keep your eyes open when looking at the two objects because your brain naturally wants to cut out any information that is not necessary. When you're looking at a screen, you don't really do that. You tend to focus on a number of things, and that becomes harder when looking at a screen to know what information isn't important. My point is to hold back on the long takes, bud. I mean, you could still use them, but you know, it's better when they're used effectively. I mean, I know you like Mad Max Fury Road, you keep on tweeting about it, and that movie, they actually push shots to their shortest. Actually, George Miller made a purpose of keeping the subject of each shot in the center of all time so that cuts could be short and the audience would still be able to understand what was going on. When you restrict your cinematography to be just long takes, you're missing on a whole lot of different cinematic techniques. Just playing MGS5, I was thinking the whole time, man, I would put the camera over here, I would cut over there, there's a shot that would be nice, and so, but that's not really able to happen because you're doing really stupid zooms and pans that are only necessary if you were to film each scene in one shot. Don't be afraid to lock down the shot and have actual framing. I guess I'm hammering this point home a lot, but take this scene from MGS5 that I feel like is the most emotional scene in the game. Big Boss is burying soldiers that he had to kill, but he chooses not to. He covers his faces with their ashes and he's like, oh no, they're gonna live on through our war. But a lot of the internet, when looking at footage for MGS5, claims to say that this scene is the most emotional. Notice the difference between these two scenes. There is a point to framing. Framing is important. So yeah, some things that I was concerned about. I put some more videos in the description that go more in detail about some of the ideas I've talked about, but I just don't want to repeat things. So, Kojima, stop with the bad cinematography and just get better writing that's not, like, stupid. Thanks.